Hi everyone, welcome to BullCaster, a talk show for all the crypto bulls. Here we to discuss most exciting industry topics with the best industry experts, influencers, and remarkable personalities. I'm Constantin Kogan, co-founder of BullPerks, and we're excited to welcome a very special guest today. Meet Larry Dvoskin, who's a four-time Grammy-nominated producer, strategic project chief at NFT Oasis, #1 Amazon best-selling author, and NYU professor. Larry has worked with celebrities like David Bowie, MGMT, Sean Lennon, the Beach Boys, Sammy Hagar, Bad Company, Alec Baldwin, and with companies ranging from UNICEF, MTV, NBC, Madonna's Maverick Television, Sony Music, and many others. As a strategic project chief for NFT Oasis, he has overseen numerous metaverse concepts and experiences, and it's just really delightful to have you here, Larry. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. Boom. After hearing all those accomplishments, I'm really tired. I should go to bed. Like, that's a lot of work. But
Yes.
it's when you do what you love at the end of the day, whether it's short or long, you have more power than when you started because you're doing something that gives you energy. And I've always loved music, helping people, and have been lucky. I mean, I will say it's dedication, but also luck and dedication and being in it for the long term, not just the short term.
Yeah. I mean, I know you write in a book. I know you write in memoirs, and you have such an exciting stories to tell, I'm sure, like meeting all those celebrities live, like, and not like some people have never had this opportunity to have like to chat with like Freddie Mercury or like, or Andy Warhol or many like other people, like, and not just like acquaintance of 1 minute, to have actually sit down in the room together and see how are they, right? And if we can say, like, off the records, you're telling me that you've been approached by some of the like people who are trying to film documentaries and actually know how they behaved, right? But so having all this, right, and now what, coming back to the topic of our conversation, we're talking about the life of art, music, and metaverse. So what made you like become interesting, like, even in metaverse?
Thank you. Well, like a lot of people during the first pandemic lockdown of 2020, I was on Clubhouse. I met a lot of people, and I'm part of a little group called the Satoshi Roundtable, this crazy shirt that looks very like kind of metaversy. And I met this guy, Will O'Brien, who is, a very smart business founder, leader, um, MIT business and other things. And so we became friends and we were hosting Clubhouse talks with people like Tim Draper, the great, legendary evangelist for Bitcoin, other things. And he posted something like, should I come out of retirement? Because he had so many successes before he was 40. He was already retired. And like I looked on Facebook and like hundreds of people said, oh yeah, like if you're doing it, we're gonna get behind you. So I went on a holiday for 2 weeks. I came back and he raised like $4.7 million or something and had a whole team. And I'm like, wait, how about me? And so we joined up and I suddenly saw what the metaverse could do, which is you can project people like sitting in front of a green screen into like this fantasy world, but not just a fantasy world where you're watching it, but you're in it with them. And that is a game changer because I've always been a live on stage or live in the audience person like everyone else. But suddenly I can be sitting here and be seeing a K-pop festival in South, Korea and actually be interacting. And so that was a game changer. So I joined NFT Oasis and I never really I've seen people get famous and it's like a rocket. They're like their life is I saw Ed Sheeran go from like nothing and then suddenly like a week later it was like this and then it just went straight up. And I feel like that's what's happening now in Web3, even with the cryptos being down and the things of 2022. I know 2022 is going to be because there's too many good people. We hear about the bad, but there's too many good people in Web3. It's going to happen, and it's going to be the future, and you have to pivot with the future.
Yeah, I love your positivity. I think it's very important given the circumstances and the trust we have to rebuild with everything that happened. And there's an interesting article. So, per New York Times, the Rolling Stones became the first band to do a live concert on the internet, right? So I'm sure you remember this. And
Yeah.
today we see a lot of live concerts on YouTube, and even like people try to perform metaverses, right? And so how can Metaverse help music artists unleash their talents and and unleash their full potential?
Uh, Great question, Constantine, because so much of what we have right now is fragmented. Like I have a wallet for one place and a different wallet for another and a different, and none of them connect. Like at NFT Oasis, we just did a concert with a guy named Keith Harris, who is the drummer of the Black Eyed Peas. So he played live in
Mm.
front of people in Los Angeles, but it went out on our metaverse, but it was not just with people with Oculus who were in the room as Oculus. Other people were looking at it on their phones. Other people were looking at it on their laptops. And it was also live streamed across all the potential live streams like YouTube or Twitch and other things. So suddenly, anyone, anywhere with any device could see this concert and they don't have to be in Los Angeles. So that's a game changer because even a live stream, like I watched Kiss from Dubai on New Year's 2021, and like you had to pay, you were on one platform, it was that moment and that's it. Here it's like open for everyone and it connects all the dots together.
Now, if I'm gonna wear my devil's advocate hat and like try to kind of go further with
Yeah,
a lot of criticism that regular people might have to the metaverse, who
yeah,
don't understand their concept, not clear what's the value proposition, they're like, okay, guys, blah blah blah, you're amazing, you're still rumbling about this, but then like you can broadcast on a traditional TV stations or anything, or even through live, like through YouTube live or anything like, and I can see the picture, and maybe that's enough for me. What's so unique about the opportunity to actually perform inside the metaverse? Let's talk about it and go deeper.
yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. There's a English singer, Imogen Heap. She was, if not the first, one of the
Hmm.
first music artists in 2015 to mint an NFT. She was the first music artist that NFT Oasis had. And after she played, she came out in the audience. And some of the people who are just avatars like could talk to her. And you can't do that on a live stream, and you can't do that at Madison Square Garden where I live. So one of the people came up and said, "Hey, it's my 50th birthday today." And I can't, it's so cool to meet you. And somehow one of the people from NFT Oasis on the design team pulled out a birthday cake and gave it to Imogen, and she sang happy birthday to him. So the kind of experiences you have here are not something you can just watch on TV or just go to Madison Square Garden and see, Beyonce playing. Like there's more of a direct connection to the artist and the fan or the follower that can interconnect and interact. There's something further I want to say to answer this question about people like, people say like, why do I want an NFT? Like something I can't put on my wall. And I credit
Hmm.
the great Matt Medved from NFT Now as saying to me something so beautiful. He said, "How much time do you spend staring at your wall versus staring at your phone screen each day?" And that's a cause for action. We've changed, and there are even now digital screens for your collection and all kinds of things. Like I'm going to be posting this in my NFT Oasis penthouse, and this video will be the video playing. So people a year from now can see this, and they can also be in my penthouse and meet me, and we could be sitting around having a fake drink or shooting fireworks or, you know, I don't know, having throwing stars that blow up in the sky, like all kinds of fun things you can do. And that's, for a guy at my age, like most of my colleagues are like, what do you mean that Web3? It's all a bunch of pirates and scallywags and scoundrels. And then there's the bad people too, like they only hear the bad news, but the wonderful news is it creates a sense of childlike wonder. And everybody wants
Hmm.
that childlike wonder in such a world that's so dark and uncertain right now.
So this is an interesting question where we can go to the next one. So Blackpink, the famous Korean girl group, right, has been awarded for the best metaverse performance at the MTV VMAs, for their in-game concert of BG Mobile, right? And then basically during the performance, Blackpink avatars were teleported to various iconic locations in the, PUBG universe. And so with what you were explaining, do you see that the role of NFT avatars for artists in the metaverse will only expand? Do you see that there will be like a separate like trends how people will follow their famous artists like in the future?
Completely. And we see this with all these right now. The big fad in December of 2022 is everyone uploading their photos and getting all these avatars where they look like, Xena Princess Warrior or Game of Thrones, like heroes, in battle gear or in sexy
I
outfits.
did that. Yeah.
And I didn't do that because then my pictures will end up in some Chinese or Russian facial recognition software
Russian.
when
Yeah.
yeah, when they sell the data. So I haven't done it yet. I should actually do that for people I really don't like a lot. So I should upload their pictures and pay for it. But I'm going to get to it. But what the net of this is that it's developing so fast that, when I looked, and I don't want to put down anything, I'm on Facebook and Instagram all the time. I will get hate mail for saying I still love it. I love everything, but I go away from things toward the new things to really discover because I have a curiosity. And I think this curiosity, I've been seeing avatars that look so real and lifelike. And there are deep fakes, obviously, but when you can go into a metaverse and I could be standing with you, not separated by a screen, but just sitting in a room, like talking, like that's coming, and that's the game changer. Is that the technology is catching up with the human
Mhm.
imagination right now.
It is, and true indeed. And sometimes, I feel like we're losing a little bit of human touch because I'm a kind of a person who's more like physical. I need to hug people, I need to touch people, like even though I appreciate a lot the virtual experience, right? But sometimes, like an old school approach, just to have a look and feel, and it's also very much needed. But there are a lot of applications, as you mentioned, when people just don't have the opportunity. Sometimes we, during the COVID, as you mentioned, we just couldn't. We're just already home, and we might as well try to develop different skills to connect. So, just to ask you one last question before we go to the audience, right? So can you tell us, please, a little bit like about your project, NFT Oasis, like how it helps artists to adopt the innovative metaverse space? Like, if somebody's listening to us and he's an artist or she's an artist, like where should they start?
Well, they should just go to nftoasis.co without the M, just nftoasis.co, and just sign
Mhm.
up and just sort of we'll actually have somebody from our team contact them to show you around, like when you go to a place, a party, and the host puts their arm around you and says, hey, let me introduce you here, let me show you what we do there. Because we're very different than the current meta. I've looked at some of the metaverses and they look like a Legos game that a 6-year-old would. We're a company for artists that are artists. Like I'm a professional musician. All the people you mentioned, I'm still working on music right now and making music. Our founder, Will O'Brien, is putting out his album on Sunday, December 11th. We're actually artists and not just sort of former hedge fund guys trying to make a killing in Web3 and then buy another house somewhere on the beach. We're artists, so there's a love and appreciation for art. And it's more than just come into this general world. People are having their own dream houses in our space where they can host their own parties or concerts or put their artwork up and invite collectors and friends and fans. We're also starting an academy so that people can go in and learn, how do I get into the metaverse? Not just our metaverse or our NFT Oasis, but in general. How do you get in? What do you do if you just put on an Oculus for a first time? How do you create your own avatar and change your hair color or something? Like we're developing an academy of learning because that's been the biggest thing. There isn't one metaverse. There are many different. It's just a general term for Web3, whatever you want to call it. But we're trying to create an entire environment and community of artists built for artists and musicians and all kinds of people. So that's the special sauce. And we even have a circle of leadership with people who are really successful, that you don't have to travel to Dubai to be at a conference. You can kind of connect with people that are successful in whatever field, music or art or finance or Web3. And then the last thing is, eventually we're really looking forward and saying, like, I have a friend who designs avatars. Why don't we create something where they can get work, so that they're not just trying to be on Twitter Spaces all day long, but people could see their avatars, find them, and then hire them. So we're also going to be rolling out this freelancer world soon that really helps people who have a special talent get a direct
Hmm.
connection and get work and make money and do what they love.
That's beautiful. I really love that, and I think a lot of people who are listening right now will appreciate it. And yes, please visit and the website. I'm sure like the guys will help you to onboard you.
Yeah.
And I mean, given having said that, like we want to go directly to the questions. So we have already multiple questions. It is open to our audience. They're asking from different places. So Met Adventure from YouTube is asking. So DJ Steve Aoki and 3LIU
Yeah.
recently announced their own new projects, PUNX, which is fully inspired by CryptoPunks. So that got me thinking, how will NFTs affect music culture?
Well, the Blau, as the 3LAU is pronounced, and Steve Aoki, I know Blau.
Yes.
His real name is Justin. And, they've been leaders in the space. So they're finding a way to make it real, because they're really live DJs. I mean, the NFT thing was for them a
Yes.
novelty. So I think it's really good, because the project, from what I understand, is a live project. They're going to make just live music, and then it expands out from there. And it's sort of like two plus two equals 10. It's like, when Simon and Garfunkel sang together, or Hall and Oates, like, they're all good separately, but together. So I'm really excited to see what they come up with. That's the answer.
Yeah. Thank you. By the way, yeah, for me, thank you for like, Justin Blau for me is always a mystery how he actually pronounced his like nickname, because it started with a three, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, was
Yeah,
this?
the three is like a B, so forgive me for correcting. And he's a
No,
lot of
no, I'm actually happy. Like I'm always like learning from you. Like it's good.
yeah.
James Thurman from LinkedIn is asking. So how long will it take until music streaming giants build their NFT music platforms? Moonsama, a new music project by Public Pressure, generated 2 million in revenue right after its launch. Crazy money for a music project in the bear market.
Well,
So I think there's no question. More like it's
yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
general question.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a general question. I mean, what I've seen, and I want to just roll back to answer that question to you, saying you like to hug people, you like to be in the present, and balancing these two
Yeah.
worlds, digital and in real life.
Yes.
I just came back from NFT London. I'm going to be both speaking and hosting at NFT New York, April 14th, April 13th and 14th. There's nothing like being in real life. And what I've learned from being last year at NFT LA, NFT Miami, NFT New York, NFT London, is that everybody is curious and building right now. And I think all of these music streaming platforms are probably under the hood, like putting their toe in the water, saying, how do we service our users, our customers, by giving them an additional experience? Because we don't want to be Friendster. We don't want to be MySpace. We want to be the thing that lasts, that stays around.
The
So
cool
I think it
kids.
would be smart for all of them. I mean, I'd have to be working at those companies to know their business development. But I think what I found from being on the ground and meeting people who run, brand development for all these Fortune 500 companies, is everybody's looking at it right
Yeah. And we see this trend across the world. I mean, there's another interesting question which I pointed out, like Million Dream from YouTube is asking. So the fact that the EU hosted a 24-hour metaverse party to appeal to young people and only 6 people attended shows that the community and regulators don't really understand each other. In your opinion, what's the problem here?
The problem is that there are two groups of people. The less than 1% that own an Oculus or have a MetaMask wallet, and the 99 point something percent of people in the world that are still, going on normal social media channels. And I'll give you an example, and forgive me if I'm saying anything wrong, but my friend Nile Rodgers is one of the most legendary producers. Let's Dance, Get Lucky by Daft Punk. He did something with Nas a year ago, and they thought, well, we're both
Hmm.
superstars. It didn't, from what I heard, it was a disappointing sale. I'll just say that they didn't get what they expected during this huge bull run where if I just sort of like NFT'd like a cigarette lighter, I could make $1 million or something ridiculous. So year later, Blau does a drop with Nas because he's in the space and it sells out in a minute. So my advice to all of you
Hmm.
listening now and in the future is you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to, giving precedes getting. I have not flipped one NFT, and I have collections across OpenSea, um, one of, 10 other platforms, and I'm just a collector, so I'm coming in saying I want to give to the space rather than extract from it, and that's earned trust. And I get on and I champion people who are my friends, and I do that. And so what I want to say is you have to get in it and become part of the community. If you're part of the community, it's a group of people envisioning the future and they want to make a better future. So they might buy some ridiculous looking animal photo that looks like a 6-year-old drew it. And they're not because they love that stupid PFP, but they want to support the future. And so they're whatever they spend, whatever they can afford is an investment in their being part of that future.
Hmm. That's a beautiful way to put it, right? And then there is interesting one. So just came back from Miami. So there's a question from Crypto Bull 44 from Twitter. So the question is, Meta is going all out with their campaign, building Meta House for Miami Art Week and bringing into the biggest names of female hip hop like Gorilla and Doja Cat. What are your thoughts on this example and other major market initiatives for the metaverse?
Well, it's just a continuous wave. I went to Miami Basel and NFT Basel last year. I didn't go this year because I had other things. But I see, it's really pulling I mean, there's a basic truth. Celebrity drives eyeballs. When Snoop Dogg shows up to, NFT, a cigarette lighter lighting, it sells out. Okay. So there is a truth to that. But I think what's good about what you just said, a band like Doja Cat, somebody like Doja Cat or Gorillaz, is that what Web3 and the metaverse needs to do is expand from just these wonderful DJs, Blondish and Steve Aoki and people like that into the whole music space. Keith Harris that I talked about, who was in NFT Oasis, like he has a kind of funk jazz, Black Eyed, because he's in the Black Eyed Peas. It's like real players playing. It's not just like robots talking to each other, going beep 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 beep. It's real music, and I think that that's going to get more and more. Like you said, the Rolling Stones
Hmm.
did this Zoom live stream that I watched, during the height of the pandemic. And they were all in different countries, different houses, and it was a technical nightmare. You kind of couldn't really. Charlie Watts, was kind of playing off time, and I guess his music feed was off or something like that. But it's just getting better and better, and I think more and more people are coming into the space. And but it's still what we have to do. Everyone listening, all of you, bring people in, come in and contribute because this is the future. And I'm more of a campaigner. I'm like the Secretary of State for NFT Oasis. I go to the live conferences. I meet people. I share my experience with them. But you have to be in it. Like you have to be a builder too. And I'm learning to be a builder through talks like this today.
Yeah. So we are builders and we totally understand how complicated it is, how much efforts you need to input, like just to basic education, onboarding people, like, one by one, as you mentioned, just to set up a MetaMask wallet. That's just step number 0. Then you only go to step number one or two, three.
Yeah.
So there are more interesting questions, which I don't know if you maybe I haven't heard about it, so it's actually exciting to learn. So Captain Hado is asking from YouTube. So I've heard that the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra will have a metaverse concert in the sandbox. So the orchestra will be sitting and playing instruments. So how do you see the future of live metaverse performances and concerts?
Well, I mean, that's for me wonderful news that I'm hearing for the first time, that it's not just a DJ with,
Mm-hmm.
that it's
Same.
so it answers the question I said before, that more and more people are coming in, because once you figure out how to set it up, there is a barrier to entry. There is what called friction, like figuring out a MetaMask or figuring out an Oculus. All of these things take learning, but that's for me breaking news, and it's great. And even at NFT Oasis, that's why we're creating an academy, is to show you, how do you set up an avatar? How do you both put pictures up, in, let's say, if you have your own little world or a dream house, how do you get a video going? How do you put a link in so it goes to your Twitter or website? So we're all in this process of development, and that proves it right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was also excited by the question, see,
Good. I want
I
to know.
always learn from the people who ask. So, oh, there's another one. So Raphael from YouTube is asking, so old school media player Vinamp, I actually remember this one, so, has added support for Ethereum and Polygon-based music NFTs in the latest update. This is big. Do you expect more music players to support NFTs as the demand increases at this rate?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking on December 9th, 2023, and Twitter sells NFTs of the people who are tweeting. You can
Mm-hmm.
buy a tweet, like people bought Jack Dorsey's first tweet, but you can also just, instead of doing a Twitter space saying, go over to OpenSea to buy my new drop, Twitter will be like, click here, and your credit card is uploaded, and you can choose between euros or Deutschmarks, or, well, Germany's on the euro, but you know what I mean, pounds or
Yeah.
dollars or
Yeah.
Ethereum or Polygon or Tether or Tezos or any of these things, you'll be able to do that. So just expect all of the media. I go to a gas station near my house in just outside New York City, and in the gas station, there's a Bitcoin like ATM. Like I can buy
Oh.
coin in my gas station. Like, and I live in this sort of country redneck place, and yet there's like a Bitcoin machine. So it's coming through like the unexpected sources that already have the eyeballs. And those people have the
Mm-hmm.
money to lower the barrier to entry. So you're not just figuring out what a seed phrase is, and should I put a comma after each of the 24 words and leave a space, or if I do it wrong, will all my NFTs disappear? Like, it's going to get easier and easier.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So there's probably one of the last questions I'll ask you, which is I think it's really interesting. Vanguard from YouTube is asking, well, would it be possible for artists in different metaverses to collaborate? And are projects building interoperability to allow that?
Yes, I can't say who, because I have to let the company, but the company I'm working with, on a totally separate matter, I started talking to a different metaverse that had very different way of entering, very different way of being an avatar, very different way of creating, um, very different community, much more corporate, doing big corporate things with companies like the Cannes Film Festival or iHeart or Pepsi. I can name them, and I don't know, maybe someone can Google, but we've partnered with them. And so instead of us versus them, I'm living in the spirit of abundance. Our company, NFT Oasis, has this, declaration of abundance, because Web 2 and capitalism is based on, I get as much as I can from you. And we're in it, and create rarity and scarcity. Like, you better buy it now, it'll be gone soon. And we're not in that mindset. We're in a mindset, there's enough for everyone. There's 8 billion people on the planet, and there's less than 1% that's in this $1 trillion Web3 market. at the beginning of the year, people said, oh, New York Times said crypto is dead, NFT, everything's all gone wrong. And you know something? I wrote something yesterday that said, at the beginning of this year, Bloomberg said the entire Web3 crypto market is a $3 trillion space. And now with this winter, it's a $1 trillion space. And I was like, boo-hoo, $1 trillion. The music business with all of these people like the Philharmonic and Doja Cat and Beyonce is a $14 billion a year global industry. Compare that to $1 trillion. Like we're talking about like one tree versus like an orchard that goes on for miles. So the potential here is extraordinary, hasn't even started. I think that, and Keith Grossman from Time Magazine said this when he was in Miami Basel, and it's true. He's the president of Time, leaving to run MoonPay, and at the end of this year. And he said there isn't one metaverse. It's not like the internet where it's this one thing. There are many metaverses right now. And that soon they're going to be able to connect, just like I can now on my phone have all the apps that connect to my email and Twitter and this thing and that thing and my travel and food app and everything. Like it's all in one place. And that's going to happen too in the next 5 years. It could be sooner, but it's coming, that you're no longer walled off in one place or another.
100%. And I think it is coming, and it's inevitable, because I always want to think about it as marketplaces, like, and different marketplaces have to not only compete but also create seamless experiences that the product can be sold in different marketplaces, right? You have Amazon, you have eBay, you have others, so same idea, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't share the pricing, there's going to be either price competition or there will be a collaboration. So very simple, inevitable evolution of what we're seeing right now. Larry, always happy to learn from you. Always exciting to have you, and like we're just gonna keep the intrigue, like, and what you're doing, like, and I know you're writing a book, you're working on some other music production. I'm sure you're gonna do a lot of fun stuff, and with your experience, people would appreciate that. We'll share all your information, like your personal information, like, and the links to your social media, the NFT Oasis website, and then we'll be delighted to collaborate more together in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And everybody, happy days and sunny days are right ahead of you. So keep the faith. This is the time, just like in the end of the 90s when everyone thought, oh, it's all gone wrong. The internet is a bubble. And then out of that came Netflix and Google and Facebook and everything else that we depend on today. So the good years are ahead of us, not behind us. So thank you so much for having me, and God bless everyone
100%.
watching this.
We're going to build, we're going to create more, we're going to bring more positivity to the world, and you're helping this actively. And thank you everyone for joining us, for joining BullCaster. And then we'll see you in about 2 weeks, and you could be able to listen to us at 4 p.m. UTC or 11 a.m. EST on YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, Twitter Live, all the lives possible. So we're going to bring more and more amazing guests like Larry, and I'm going to see you in a bit. Have
All
a good
right.
weekend.
You too. Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.